Drag Racing fan, again, live here on the Monday Morning Racer platforms, as well as Funny Car Chaos, Nitro Chaos Facebook pages, and the CompetitionPlus.com Facebook page and X page as well. Streaming to several places. Hit the like button, hit the share button, chime in. Where are you watching from, as far as your state and home place, and on what platform you are watching? Between the Slicks, episode 176, guest upcoming, the promoter and owner of the Chaos, Funny Car Chaos and Nitro Chaos, Chris Graves. I'm Lee Kraft, a.k.a. the Monday Morning Racer. We're going to be talking drag racing. Later on in the show, after speaking with Chris, we'll dive into some drag racing news, give you some of the upcoming races this weekend, and go over what is pertinent in the world of drag racing. Chris Graves has been promoting drag racing for a while now. And a bombshell of news announced this morning is the ceasing of operations for the NMRA and NMCA sister organizations. Well, we'll chat with Chris about that and promoting in 2024 and beyond, the challenges of it. And as we are going to take a break here in just a moment, I'd like to say concerning Chris and watching him and the work that he's put in and how challenging it is. I used to think I wanted to do some promoting, and I don't want to do that no more. Chris has killed that desire within me. He can have it, and the others can have it. Promoting is such an underrated role out there in the world of motorsports, because without them, you and I are not going to be enjoying any motorsport shows. But they get tugged and pulled in so many different ways, whether it's the track, the racer, the fan, everything pulling at them. And there is so much on the line for there to be a successful event, and so much can take away from a successful event. Overall, though, from what I was able to see and what I was able to experience this year, along with Chaos Nation 2024 for Funny Car Chaos and Nitro Chaos, was a success. And 2025 is shaping up to be another success as well. We're going to take a break. This word from Dove Fuels. Very grateful for Pete Dove and his support. And he does support in many ways, racing in his own operation, supporting a media outlet like the Monday Morning Racer and other outlets, as well as Nitro Chaos, Extreme Top Fuel, and beyond. Pete Dove, well, he's out there being real. Fly right in your motorsports endeavors with products and services from Dove Fuels. Pete Dove is the owner of Dove Fuels. He is a racer himself in a nitro methane burning fuel altered, dubbed Back from the Ashes. He races with Driven Racing Oils, which produces a 70-weight nitro oil. But that is not all they make. They make applications for you on the oval track, whether that's dirt or asphalt, and for even you, the bracket racer, on the drag strip. And if you need nitromethane, Pete Dove at Dove Fuels is the one to call for a drum, or even supplying for an entire series, as he is the official supplier of nitro for Nitro Chaos. If it's nitromethane or Driven Racing Oils, you need to contact Dove Fuels. Gentle name, Hardcore Products. And now, with us live, presented by McKinney Corp., Chris Graves. Chris, how's it going in, Central Texas this morning?
Yeah, all good, man. Sun's shining. A little warm for this time of year here, but we're used to that, right? But I'm still trying to figure out how awesome that Garlet shirt was you were wearing in the Dove Fuels commercial.
It's a great shirt. Got that down at the museum. He's got that at the museum, and hey, I'm a big fan of like the baseball T-shirt, like anyway.
Yeah.
Because you know me, I'm so fair skinned. I mean, most of the time I wear sleeves or I'm sunblocked up, and you got that much less. I love them, and yeah, great nostalgia tee, and a lot of good items down there at Garlet's museum. If none of you have been there, you got to go to Ocala, Florida, and check it out. And it was cool the last time I was down there working with Murph. Now I'm really looking at that mono-struck car very differently after Murph is like, hey, look at the blueprints. Let me show you. This is how wild that car is. And it's like, yeah, hopefully get that story all put together one day. But Garlits can't hear. That's going to be a challenge.
Well, that's cool. You got to see the blueprints, man. That's cool.
Interesting hot rod. Interesting hot rod. Well, speaking of interesting hot rods, always new competitors coming in and out of the chaos. What was the most interesting hot rod you think of this year that competed, that showed up?
I mean, it's hard not to love the Andy Fangman Nitro Pro Mod, and it was really cool to see him go to the finals at the last race here at Mid-State Dragway in Havana. He's had a lot of fun at that race and was very gracious about being able to come out and participate, and said he'd like to do more next year. So I don't know, man. I've got a special spot for a couple of those Nitro Chaos cars, but for sure the Andy Fangman Nitro Pro Mod, I was excited to see him come close out the Nitro Chaos season with us at Havana. Funny car side. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I mean, that car has got it. It has the perfect stance.
Yeah.
It looks bad. Like, there are so many Camaros out there now, no matter what we're talking about, radial or Pro Mod World, it just has that stance. It is a bad looking hot rod.
And it thumps, man. And got the backup girl, got everything black, man. It looks good, that flat black. That's just a bad ride, man. That's a cool deal. On the funny car side, there's a lot of obviously a lot of funny cars. But you know, it was an interesting season. There's new cars coming next year for sure. Ken Singleton's building a new car at High Risk Performance right now for a new young driver. Excited to see that. So yeah, there's a lot of cars. Several new paint jobs this year. Of course, the points championship was tight, so it was good. It was a good year, man.
Well, we'll dive into specifics on Funny Car Chaos and Nitro Chaos in just a moment. Let's take an overall look of drag racing. You've been doing this promoting thing for a while. I'd say what your first real foray into promoting would have been the 2000s, maybe the early teens, from what I can tell. Many promotions before Funny Car Chaos and Nitro Chaos, where people really may see your face and understand that connection with promoting drag racing. But you've been doing it a while, and you have an announcement this morning, the ceasing of operations of the NMRA, the NMCA. I'm sure, like myself, you can remember going to a Ford Fun Rally or going to one of those type of events, or at least that name's been around a while. And they say they're out, they're done, they're ceasing operations because of costs and partnership issues and just venue things and racer participation, fan participation. How hard is it promoting in 2024 exactly?
Yeah, well, it's real hard. There's plenty of entertainment options, obviously, available for people to pursue and spend their money on. Of course, you know, economic challenges are a big part of that as well. This is grassroots stuff that we're doing, at least on the chaos side of things. But I think most drag racing in general is a grassroots level to a degree at the end of the day. You know, general hot rodding and all these small tracks that are surviving on bracket racing and Saturday night testing tunes and stuff. So your challenges are great. I keep, you know, I was born in '84, right? So I missed the glory days of all that stuff. And NHRA was already professionalized by then. In my opinion, I was lucky to be able to catch the '90s there when it was before it got way out of control. But you know, you see these, you know, you pick up a 1974 National Dragster, which I have tons of, and you look through there and the freaking stands are packed. And it's like back then, all they had was TV and radio, right? And like newspaper. You didn't get results for a month if you weren't there. The attendance numbers at these drag races was awesome, and everybody was a hot rodder. It's like, man, to be able to live in that era. But you know, now going to 2024, you know, the world's a different place. So we're thankful to have as many people that are interested in funny car racing and nitro racing and drag racing in general at this point. You know, at the end of the day, I think the industry is solid. I think that, you know, as I told a few people from Drag Illustrated a couple years ago in an article they interviewed me for, the state of drag racing. Yeah, it's different. Yeah, there are people, certain genres struggling or whatever. But at the end of the day, I think drag racing as a whole is fantastic. You know, yes, tracks are closing, but other ones are being built. Teams are coming in and out. Big names and big sponsors are coming in and out. But at the end of the day, there's still a lot of drag racing going on. But, you know, the biggest challenges in 2024 really, I guess, is the current economic situation and then followed by, you know, obviously weather and whatnot. But the additional entertainment options. It's not hard to find something to do at some of these venues, some of these metropolitan areas we go to. So competing with all the additional options to get that entertainment dollar spent at a drag strip, I would say, is number one. Which comes back to event marketing and how do you promote and how much money do you have to promote and what's the best way to promote. I mean, I at the end of the day, I think flying an airplane through the air with a flag behind it's probably the best way to promote, as opposed to hanging flyers or doing displays or social media or Facebook or YouTube or TV or whatever. So there's a lot of ways to spend money advertising, and it all comes down to reaching the people and trying to find people that are interested in hot rodding to come out and watch your drag race.
Well, it has certainly changed. We're certainly not in the 70s, 80s, early 90s. It has radically changed. And I concur with you. I think it is healthy, but we are seeing a radical shift and change. I think it's interesting. The NMCA and the NMRA, certainly door car centric. And I don't know how door car promoters are making it right now. If you're trying to be at the top level, there are so many trying to do that, whether you're competing with NHRA Pro Mod, PDRA, Midwest Drag Racing Series. I think it'd be a challenge to promote high performing door car racing. And you found a niche, though. You have, well, brought out more funny cars than anyone ever thought there was in existence. And you've given people a place to race with nitro burners and has been successful with that. Do you think that's also something critical? You didn't say, oh, let me just start another Pro Mod series. Let's work with who is out there who does not have a place to race.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. Door car stuff's definitely more available and more competition there to promote for cars and classes, and you're dealing with a lot of rules and no prep and grudge racing and all of that stuff has drastically changed. We used to go to 60 events a year with Max Cackle Photos. Me and Tara lived in a motorhome for 8 years on the road, didn't have a house, didn't have nothing, drove around taking pictures at all kinds of drag strips all over the country, went to several grudge races, went to Georgia, went to everywhere doing all these pro mod races, door car races, no prep races, grudge races, and all that. Even all that's different now. I mean, it's hard to find a legit grudge race as opposed to 10, 15 years ago when there was one every 2 weeks in Dallas. There's still big grudge races and around, don't get me wrong, but it ain't what it used to be. And all the grudge cars went to small tire cars, and then all the small tire cars went to no prep cars, and all this stuff's crazy. But as far as funny cars and nitro cars, absolutely. It just, that's what I'm into. That's what we're into. That's what we grew up watching. That's what I like to watch. That's what I like to be a part of. And, the timing was perfect because it was at the tail end of Jeff Burke's Drag Racing Online AAFC Challenge Series, which Tara actually won the last one of those at Tulsa Raceway Park in 2017, 1 week before the weekend before Funny Car Chaos won. So it was a crazy way that all that lined up. But that series was the only place you could run a nostalgia funny car. He followed heritage rules in the Midwest. There was nowhere else to race funny cars in the Midwest in any kind of series at all. They were only getting 6, 8, 10 cars, and so come along Funny Car Chaos, and I was initially trying to book a match race, and I ended up, oh man, there's 40 grand here, and I only got 5, 6, 8 cars or whatever. So I said, I don't know, how about we just put that money in a pot and make them come qualify and earn it? So that's what we did, and we had like 25 cars at the first race, and then that was just supposed to be a one-time deal. Maybe once a year at most, because at that time we were still full-time photographers traveling everywhere and doing all kinds of freelance media stuff. And they wanted more. People wanted more. Funny car racers wanted more. The fans wanted more. So all of a sudden the phone started ringing and tracks are calling, and here we go. But that transitioned into Nitro Chaos and all of that. But yeah, as far as that niche, funny cars, we're running out of places to race. Their only place you can race has got an 8-page, 8-inch thick rule book. Bunch of guys had cars, can't run them nowhere. In Texas, Midwest area, all the match racing's going to street outlaw cars. Ain't nobody calling Blue Max. Ain't nobody calling, any of these badass nitro funny cars that are around here, because they're booking in Murder Nova and all these other guys, because that's what was hot 10 years ago. And so, giving those guys a place to race is exactly the purpose of Funny Car Chaos at this point, for sure. And the Nitro Chaos Series too. There's a bunch of awesome independent nitro teams out there that have nowhere to run. Thankfully, there's a lot of still match racing going on up in the Midwest and Michigan and Iowa and Illinois and places like that. But there's not a lot of nitro racing or funny car racing, match racing going on in Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, New Mexico, and anywhere down here. So the Chaos has definitely provided a venue for those teams and those people to be able to enjoy the sport of drag racing, but also on top of being able to enjoy the sport and go do what they want to do and hang out with their friends and make memories with their families, but they can also build their cars how they want to. And that's a big thing for me. The creativity and the ingenuity in Top Fuel right now is just, you look at, I watch old YouTube all the time, just like you do. You got guys with these 8-foot wings and big old canards and wheels that are all different sizes and all kinds of crazy, timing system changes and all this stuff that they were doing back in the late 80s that NHRA let you do in Top Fuel back then. And you just can't do it now. But you can do it at Nitro Chaos, and they're doing it. I mean, Jake Sanders just showed me his big, new, badass canard wings he put on that Menace dragster at the last race. Wheeler and the Grand Prix boys are doing all kinds of cool stuff with their Top Fuel car. I mean, so Outlaw Nitro Racing is the ability to give them the option to build an engine program and a car the way they want to. It's their car. Let them do what they want with it. They got to bring it to the starting line and win the race. That's the bottom line. So we definitely filled a niche, and it's growing, and it's continually grown the whole time. And honestly, I thought it would plateau at some point, but it doesn't seem to want to do that. So here we go. So,
you bring up that innovation or desire to run a different combination, to run the combination that you want to. I think it's a unique part of Chaos, and it is a selling point of the Chaos. You mentioned Jake Sanders. He's doing something completely different. He's not running a Heritage Series legal front engine dragster. He's put a big tire on it. He's got a different combination motor and pump wise. He's doing something different. And he was so excited, full pull, low fours. And even though he lost the round there in competition, he's like, hey, we've got data now that I can work with, unlike we have had in the past. And this thing is going to get quicker and better and faster. And, well, even though it might not be good English, badder out there in competition. Speaking of that, I'm going to throw some questions your way, and I just want you to take them because I see them on the YouTube channel side of it with Funny Car Chaos, and I usually go back and I, as MMR, answer so it doesn't look like the FCC page is being a jerk. I don't mind playing that role on YouTube as MMR because some people are just dumb. But you have those, they'll regularly chime in. They're like, with Nitro Chaos, for example, yeah, I appreciate what they're doing, but I think they need more rules. Why are all these different kind of cars running? What is going on here? What do you say to something like that?
Come to the race. You'll understand it then. The way the format works, everybody who's a first-time Chaos person always gets really confused. And, well, how do you do that? Why is a top alcohol funny car running against a nostalgia funny car with a big block Chevy? But that's only during qualifying, really. Once the race starts, we've grouped these cars into 8-car fields based on their performance through 3 qualifying sessions. And I assure you that the eliminations are going to be side by side and very entertaining. That's what's so exciting about the Chaos is you don't get the same guy running the same guy every time like you do on TV. You can almost predict every round. You don't do that at Nitro Chaos or Funny Car Chaos. There's absolutely zero predictions going on because you've never seen that guy run that guy before. So it's very exciting in that way, but it's also very competitive. And I mean, if you've never been to one, you'll vouch for it when you leave. If somebody says, "Did you see a bunch of competitive side-by-side racing today?" They're going to say absolutely, because that's what happens. That's the way the format works, and that's why it works. So for those that don't understand why a front engine dragster is running a fuel altered, well, it's on Nitro. That's the whole concept. They can do whatever they want. They're outlaws to the bone, but they got to get to the finish line first, and they're running in a field of cars that are of a light performance. So it's no easy cakewalk for anybody in that field.
Yeah, I look back on the Nitro Chaos season with mentioning Nitro Chaos and think to myself, one, I really feel like the championship could have been closer if some of those competitors had attempted to qualify a few other times and earned those 5 points and participated and got to the end of the season and like, oh, we banked a little bit more against eventual champion winner Joey Haas and the Nimrod machine. But I think a great example of what you're trying to do with Nitro Chaos, because I was at the first one, because when you announced that first one, I'm like, oh, finally, this is like, I've been dreaming about this. This is great. And it's continued because at Havana, Mid-State Dragway, round 2, the semifinals, you've got Brian Colson, I believe is his name, in the coupe, the green coupe on Nitro, and you got Andy Fangman in the Nitro Pro Mod. And it's like, this is so cool. Like, this is not happening nowhere else.
Right. That's the thing, man. You never know what you're going to see in the burnout box. That's what's so exciting about Chaos. And we're going into year 8 or 9 now, and you would think that, to a degree, it would become repetitive, but it really doesn't. It's still exciting. First round at Funny Car Chaos or Nitro Chaos, I'm ready to go. I want to see what's going to go down. It's just a nail biter all the time, and I know all these cars. I know exactly what they run. I know exactly what their tune-ups are. I know exactly what they plan to run, and I know exactly what they're doing all the time. And it's still exciting. So it's just a fun thing to come experience, and these tracks that we run at are the tracks that are the backbone of this sport. So supporting these grassroots tracks that are owned by families and individuals that are doing this for a living and doing it because they love it. That's another really cool part about what we're doing is getting to work with these tracks we race at and having business relationships and friendships with these people. That's very special.
Again, on the promoter side of bringing a circus to town routinely from Facebook and YouTube, there are these comments: bring chaos to, and it's my track or area or something of that nature. So let's talk about promoting and bringing a race, and a race having some stick-to-itiveness in an area, because Maryland is not on the schedule as of right now for next year in an exhibition format. Kearney, not an invitational format there or a points race. And you got Penwell moving to an invitational format, though there's some great new venues. So it evolves and it changes. Why is it that you just can't show up at any particular area and region? I don't think people realize what is all involved to put on a race. What's it take?
It takes a lot of patience, but yeah, I'm left scratching my head a little bit about the MIR deal. Me and Royce were both surprised that there wasn't a bigger turnout of spectators there. I mean, it was decent, but it wasn't what we needed to make it keep going on. And there's definitely venues that cater to certain niches of racing. There's no doubt about that. An Eddyville, a Cordova, a Mocan, hopefully a Byron and a Union Grove. Those are catering to funny cars. Those are catering to dragsters, Top Fuel, Nitro, things like that. You go to the East Coast, it's a different, whole different scenario. Those racers are used to match racing. They're not used to racing eliminations. Those fans are hardcore, but there's also a lot of door cars and stuff. So, you go out west, that's a whole different ball game with the Heritage Series and things like that, and so on and so forth. So it's depends on where you go as to what's going to work well. There's no doubt about that. Obviously metropolitan area size and all that is a big factor. It just comes back to a lot of things. It comes back to track preparedness. Do they have the adequate staff? Do they have the adequate equipment? Do they have the adequate know-how? Have they done races this big before? Are they nervous as hell? There's just a lot of weird stuff that goes on that, you have to kind of absorb and deal with and pivot constantly. There's always something going on. There's either, somebody's dehydrated and needs an EMT because it's 110 degrees outside and they're sitting on aluminum bleachers drinking beer, or the toilet paper ran out in the women's bathroom. It just never ends. So it's just part of it. It's exciting. It keeps us on our feet. One thing that does kind of itch me sometimes is that the people that say bring chaos here. And it's like, well, the chaos racers are putting in thousands of miles and burning tons of money in diesel, burning up their tires and blowing out their fenders to get to the racetrack to put on shows for people. So why don't y'all get in your cars and drive your butts to the racetrack where these racers are going to be at? Because they're the ones doing the driving. They're the ones doing the traveling. I encourage the spectator to get in their car, use their dollars to burn their gas money, support the local economy via booking hotels, and come support the racers who are putting in thousands of miles every year to entertain people across the Midwest and across the country. The spectators that say, bring it to my home track, that's great. I'm glad you're excited about your home track, but hop in a car, take a 2-hour drive. I mean, little road trips are fun. Pack up your neighbors, pack up your kids, get you a bag of Cheetos, and let's go.
I couldn't agree more. I see it so many times, and oftentimes do chime in, well, why don't you go to them? I say it on my show. I say it on Competition Plus Power Hour. Go to the track. Support your local track. Stop thinking that drag racing is just a NHRA national event. Please, people out there, stop. There's plenty of great racing to go and experience at your local track. And yeah, if you want to see a chaos event, maybe it's the Funny Car Chaos Classic coming up next year in April at the Texas Motorplex. Maybe you've never been to the Texas Motorplex. You've never been to Chaos. Well, knock it all off the list. Get Funny Car Chaos. Get Nitro Chaos. Experience the Texas Motorplex. Plan a trip around it and get down there. Go to Dallas. See stuff there. If you got a girl, take her down to Waco and enjoy Magnolia. Whatever. Just plan it out. Make it a racecation. Racecation.
Yeah. Make memories, man. That's what this sport's about. It's about hanging out with your buddies, having fun, and going fast and smelling nitro and having a good time.
All right. Now, another question, see routinely of this nature, and, why are these cars doing this, or why is chaos not in my area? Again, very similar to Nitro Chaos. And I hope I distinguish this enough with it being Funny Car Chaos. I think it was very much so highlighted with the two turbo cars at Albuquerque running against each other. And routinely, these are so slow compared to like a world record. And a lot of people are like, I think there's a lot of things going on. One, Chaos bringing a show to a track that doesn't have a show of that caliber routinely. And they don't understand the fundamentals of that track in just basic geography. And then, as you talked about, combination. Funny Car Chaos, the run what you've brung nature, why has that been so successful, you think, for you, for Tara, for Funny Car Chaos? Because you're not telling them what to do at all. It's be safe and don't be stupid. Come run your car.
I mean, I think it's two things. I think number one is budget. If you're not following a rule book and not required to purchase X amount of items, X amount of ways, X amount of dollars, X amount of recertification and all this stuff, your budget will increase. That allows you to put more diesel in the truck. That allows you to put more people in the hotel room. That allows you to buy better race car parts for your engine. So combination and a budget is the first thing that comes to mind. Secondly is creativity. I love how creative these guys and girls are getting with their stuff. These funny car bodies got weird little swooshy things on them, and the turbos, and Jade's got the big, centrifugal supercharger tube sticking out the front, and it's just cool. So the budget, giving them the ability to follow their own budget and race as hard with as good of parts or as whatever combination can sustain racing 10 times a year, as opposed to, for example, like a TJ Zizzo. I mean, he's got to buy X parts. He's got to run it as hard as he possibly can. And that's why he can only go to 3 races. But, I've got a Jordan Ballou who has been to every single funny car race since 2017. These people don't have a lot of money. They have a small trailer with a small truck and a small awning and a small camper, and they're running with their family, and that's it. There's no crew members. There's no nothing. It's mom, dad, daughters. That's it. And they're going to every race. They're traveling all over the country because they're allowed to do it within their budget. They got an alcohol car that they can run hard and run good and qualify at every race. So it comes down to budget, but also creativity. I really like allowing the racers to be creative about not only what's under the body or in between the frame rails, but also what's outside. Big tires, big canards, big wings. You look at Justin Mallett's 57 Chevy. That thing's got big, awesome, 4 awesome top fuel canard wings on the back of that 57 body. I think that looks badass. So just stuff like that. The creativity and the budget, that's why Run What You Brung is working. But also at the end of the day, I might add also, it goes back to the format. You build your car how you want. It looks how you want it to look. It runs how you want it to run and how you can afford to make it run. When it comes for first round, you ain't a duck because you're in a field of 8 cars that run within a tenth and a half of you. So every single person that shows up has a chance to win. You're not running for second place anytime you're ever there. And you can ask the over 50 people that have won a chaos race in our 8-year history. Is unbelievable how many people have truly won a chaos race. I mean, I remember Justin Herbst coming to Cordova or Eddyville one year going, man, I have no business being here. I should not be here. There's no way I'm ever going to win this thing ever in my life. The next race at Kearney, Nebraska, he won. I mean, ask Mike Buchanan, ask Jade Cook. Jade Cook's dad told me the same thing. We just built this twin turbo funny car, but it's going to be too slow, and we're not sure we're going to ever qualify. And she went out and won 3 races that year. So you get rewarded. You're in your budget. You get creative, and then you get to come race and you get to win. And that's the icing on the cake for a lot of these people. Yeah, I'm here and I got my car running and we're all having fun, but I get to turn on wind lights too. And it comes down to driving. There's most of it's reaction time stuff. You know, it's very competitive chaos racing with a whole bunch of different stuff on the grounds that something there is going to appeal to somebody. Whether you're a turbo guy or a Pro Charger guy or a Nitro guy or a Chevy guy or a Hemi guy, or it doesn't matter. There's a funny car there or a Nitro burner there that you're going to like.
I agree. I hope we do eventually in the funny car chaos world see a nitrous assisted machine again. Jade Cook was campaigning that now with the Pro Charger setup. I do hope we see that again, and I would love to see someone do an all motor funny car of like the mountain motor combination or the Pat Musey, 900 plus cubic inches, but just not put the nitrous on it. Would love to see something like that. I think that would be an interesting combination. And that's just it. There is room in funny car chaos to still do more. And that is what's so cool. You can't do that in NHRA top alcohol funny car competition right now. You really can't do that in NHRA nitro competition with a funny car right now. You've got an opportunity to do that in funny car chaos, though. We do have some folks chiming in and mentioning that you got a haircut. And, Joey chimes in too. Got a haircut, got that worked out.
I figured that would happen.
Not Bland show, Usually Bland, my co-host on the Competition Plus Power Hour. He's got a great show as well, folks. If you get a chance, subscribe to his YouTube channel there, the Not Bland Show. Very simply, what does it take to get chaos to a track? What does a track owner, a track manager have to do to entertain having chaos, whether it's Nitro Chaos or Funny Car Chaos, at a place such as South Georgia Motorsports Park, which I think would be a great fit?
It comes down to a few things. One of them being time for me and my wife and my 2-year-old son to enjoy our life while we live this chaotic trip up and down the highway all year long. But, between all the chaos, I think we have 12 or 13 or 14 races. We've got at least 2 events we haven't announced yet that are almost done that we can announce. So, time you do 12 or 15 races a year and you're putting in 40,000 miles a year and you're dealing with all the bathrooms running out of toilet paper, you're about done. So it comes down to that, first of all. How many races can the Graves family do? Secondly, obviously, comes down to location. There are no funny cars in Georgia. There's none. I think there's 2 in Mississippi. Not sure about any of them from Tennessee. There's not a single one from Louisiana. So that means everybody's got to travel a long way. The Chaos Racers, primarily between San Antonio and Chicago, give or take, several out in Denver and whatnot. So that's a long haul to Georgia. So you got to come in, you got to think about how many people are going to be willing to drive to Georgia, how many people are going to be willing to drive to Alabama or somewhere like that. I get tracks calling me all the time, and I wish I could put races on with all of them because they all want to get a good show. But it comes down to, supply and demand of our time, of the racers' time. Who's going to be able to go? Can we get 16 cars? Can we get 24 cars? I don't know. And all that's just right off the top of the bat before you even talk about, what's at the facility, what equipment do they have, how much staff do they have, how big is the shutdown, how many does it seat, how big are the pits, what kind of asphalt are we talking about, how old's your equipment? There's a lot. So we're going to 3 new venues this year. We got 2 things in the works right now we hope to announce soon. One of them would be an additional new venue. Another one is a big match race show that's going to include funny car and nitro cars here in the Midwest at some point. So there's a lot going on, and it comes down to me and Tara 99% of the time. And although we do have fantastic help from Bubba Corzine and David Ratton and our media team and and all of that. It does just come down to ability to manage all of this chaos while also trying to just have a normal lifestyle and go fishing every now and then, because everybody knows they're going to do that. So
Right. It is a lot of work. It is a lot of work, a lot of negotiations back and forth. And it's just amazing how long an email can be to type up and hit the send button on. It takes a lot of time to get all of these things together. Folks don't seem to realize, even just the media side, it's like traveling from place to place and all the time it takes. And love traveling, don't get me wrong, but it just does take time, and going from here and there, it is a lot of work. So Joey Haas last night on Between the Slicks, talking with him as the champion of Nitro Chaos, he said something that I think it is a big pat on the back of what you have done with Funny Car Chaos and Nitro Chaos. He's an individual, along with his dad and that team. They've never run for a championship, but in his racing career, built this racing program, built up to running a championship, gained exposure doing some match races, doing some races in chaos, runs for a championship, wins the championship, and plans on to defend that championship and continue to build that program using chaos as a platform for exposure. I heard that and I'm like, oh, someone got it.
that's right. Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, 8 years ago, nobody heard of Funny Car Chaos. The first 2 years, they thought we were all a bunch of hillbillies with a bunch of crap that came out of a junkyard, and we're out there, doing wheel stands with no burnout, with no wheelie bars, and there's free beer everywhere, and it's just like, holy crap. But indeed, that is not what we are doing. This is very high level racing. If you're an A-field car, you're coming to rip throats out and push it to the max every time. So over the years, this has developed into an absolutely legitimate program with very legitimate marketing partners, very legitimate racers such as Joey in our championship hunts and participating regularly. So I'm thankful for that, and I'm thankful for creating the platform. I've always said that the chaos is awesome because every single one of these cars has a name. I want the people, and I've told them at the drivers' meetings for 7 years, put a name on your car. Put your hero cards out. Put your bodies out there behind the trailer. Don't put a car. People want to take pictures next to these bodies. Don't put them in the front. No one can take pictures. I got pictures, me standing next to Kenji Okazaki and Dean Scusa and John Force and all that stuff. That's what hooked me. So I want the kids to get hooked on funny cars. I don't want to get them hooked on, laptop tuning, imports, and all this other stuff. That's great. Drag racing is wonderful in all forms, but I'm here to hook kids on funny cars and nitro cars, because if we don't, I think it's inevitable what eventually is going to happen here, but it goes back to all of that stuff. So for the chaos to be a platform for a racer like Joey to be able to build his brand, build his name, build his reputation, that's exactly what we're supposed to be doing. And he gets it. You're right. He's always got it. I've known him and his family for a long time. They've always, been on the right page. And so we're thankful to have him. We're excited to have him. Every time he comes to the starting line, one thing's going to happen is the flames are going to be past the roof and the bleachers are going to rattle, and that's what we're doing. So, that's all good stuff. And I think most of the racers also see that these guys, they've all got T-shirts now. They've all got Facebook pages now, and they've all got sponsors. Being a part of Funny Car Chaos and Nitro Chaos has given these teams the ability to secure sponsorships that they would never have. They go, hey, go to Funny Car Chaos and look at this. I'm number 7 in points right now. And I hear I'm about to go up to Eddyville, Iowa. Or I'm about to go over here to Cordova. Or I'm about to go down to Dallas. And I mean, I hear about it all the time. Hey, man, I got a sponsor coming. Can you slide me a couple extra tickets? Or, hey, man, I got, this guy coming. He's a new potential sponsor. I need to put his RV over here, so whatever. But that's all good stuff. And if the racers are smart, and that's what their goals are, is to build their brand and build their exposure and gain more marketing partners and all of that, on top of obviously the number one rules to have fun and enjoy drag racing. But the ones that are there to do that are doing it well, and it's working. And Joey's a prime example of
that. Certainly is, and you can see it elsewhere. I love when I come across Jordan Ballou putting out a review video on YouTube. I think Dustin over there with Mass Chaos is doing a good job with their review videos that they put out after the weekend. And folks putting out the reels, the YouTube videos, the updates from a weekend, it all has an impact to Chaos, Chaos to them, marketing partners. It is a win-win. And the way Joey put it on the show last night, it's like, yes, you get it and you're doing it. And that is so cool. Chris Graves, Nitro Chaos, top moment for you of the year. And look, I know you can pick from something on track. I know you can pick a crazy moment. It can be a lot of things. But dive in as promoter, and from promoting, what's the top moment?
Man, that's tough. I'm trying to think about what all happened this year. Two things come to mind, and both of them are altereds. And these are just totally random thoughts here. But my first thought was watching Chase Copeland and his fuel altered, which is just so badass. There's I think only one, yeah, and he races here with Nitro Chaos out of Texas here, but he's got a badass fuel injected nitro fuel altered, and it ran like a 370 flat or a 360 something at Ennis back in April, and I thought, oh man, when they get this thing running, it is going to kick butt and it's going to haul butt. And so he's extremely busy building a new car right now for Funny Car Chaos, and I think also for Nitro Chaos over there at Copeland Race Cars. So having that fuel altered, man, just like makes the hair stand up on your arm. So super excited. Hopefully Clay and Chase get out a few more times next year, and that thing's going to run fast. So I think that particular team, seeing that car finally haul butt, was very cool. And I think the next time they come out, they're going to run hard. And it goes to another alter there that won the B field at Edgewater that has the converter in it. I thought the Nitro Rat, I thought that was really cool. He was a very nice guy. What a road trip he had. He drove I forget where he's from. He's from way far away from here. Drove all the way to Bowling Green, won that deal, Matthew, and then he won Bowling Green, and then he come up there and won Edgewater. So I thought that was really cool.
Certainly. And again, you can run what you want to run in Nitro Chaos and Funny Car Chaos. But I love Chase's car. Was hoping to see him a lot more this year. And Chase, by the way, is a great customer of McKinney Corp. And if you've got a race car shop, McKinney Corp's got everything you need to help your race car shop, from tabs and other fabrication sources. I know last time I was at McKinney Corp, we had stamped out and bent up some rear end housings for a fab shop down in Florida. So however McKinney Corp can help with your racing endeavors, they certainly can do it. And I know the shop up there is busy. There's several Chaos cars up there right now, such as Chuck Lofton's. It's getting the Funny Car body mounted. Then he'll have the altered body mounted. He'll have a new hot rod for 2025 in competition. And so many good things, people building cars. And Chris, I know you started all of this and you're like, oh, there's all these funny cars that nobody's running except for a match race here and there, and that's not happening that much. But dude, you have people now building cars specifically for Chaos. That's wild.
That's happening, man. Trust me, I wake up sometimes and think, holy cow, what do we do here? But there's cars being built at Merce. There's cars being built at Copeland's. There's cars getting fixed at Tommy Gunn's Speed Shop. Balu's got his car in there right now. Murph's got stuff going on. There are cars being built specifically for Chaos, and so that means it's working. And I'm excited about it. It's a big fraternity, really. At the end of the day, the camaraderie everybody shares. They're fighting over who gets to park next to who, because they want to park next to this guy and that guy, and everybody's having a good time. So it's just that's what the sport's about. This sport's not about who's got the biggest rig and who's got the most money and who's got the fastest car. It's about freaking hot rodding and having fun and working on stuff with your hands and reading the spark plugs and doing 8th mile burnouts and dry hops and backup girls and all that stuff, man. This sport is about that, and that's what we're doing. And so it's good to see people investing their spare income and time and whatnot to come and build a Chaos car to come have fun with us, because that's why we're here, and we're welcome to have you.
Top moments for you as promoter, Funny Car Chaos.
Oh man, I don't know. I don't know if it's a good moment or not, but Odessa was crazy this year.
Yeah. Hey, fill me in. I wasn't there. I don't know. I mean, I've just heard blips. So what
Yeah,
happened in West
I mean
Texas?
Saturday, me and Gary were sitting in the tower and we look up and we see this giant wall of dirt flying at us that's like 50 feet tall. We're like, oh crap, man. So we get on the PA and we're like, hey, everybody, batten your awnings down and whatnot. And here comes this giant 50-mile-an-hour dust bowl, and it's like blowing stuff everywhere. And we can't run. It's too windy. Everything's covered in dirt, so on and so forth. And then 30 minutes later, it starts raining. And then 10 minutes later, it starts hailing. And then 5 minutes after that, the tornado sirens are going off. And by 5 minutes after that, everybody's running for cover, and there's twisters in Odessa. And I don't know, man. It was just the craziest. We had everything but an earthquake in about an hour and a half. And it was just something I'll never forget. That it's not a good feeling to be at a racetrack when bad weather happens, as you know. So half the staff ran home because there was tornadoes going on and they needed to go be with their families, and the spectators all bailed, and the race car guys are all stacked 8 deep in the biggest, heaviest rig on the property. And that ain't no fun. But it was an interesting situation. We try not to get into those situations. That's certainly not my favorite highlight of the year by any means. I would say the best part of the season, honestly, was the last race. Mocan, you had the grade 8 shootout. You had the tightest points battle we've ever had in series history. There was at least 4, if not 5, 6 cars that could have come down with that championship. Unbelievable how it went down. Our defending champion and highly successful hard-running guy, Kirk Williams, goes red twice in a row against the same guy. It's just the craziest odds. No one would have ever picked that to happen anywhere. And it did, and that's chaos for you. And congratulations to Shane Lawson. I mean, he put himself in position to be there, and he took the crown by a point. But Schneider and Williams and Hoffman and Jade and all these people that were in there, our top 4 were separated by 4 points. That's nuts. That's half of a round loss. I mean, it could have been anybody's game. So the excitement of that, usually it's 1 or 2 cars, but to have 4 or 5 cars coming into the last race with a legit shot at being crowned a champion, and 3 of those cars not being A-field cars. It just, again, it backs up the proof in the pudding. It backs up the format works. And you build your car how you want, come race it, you're going to win, so it just backs all those things up. But that was really exciting. And to be able to do the live stream for the last race, thanks to Mile High Crankshafts and Twisted Shifters and all of that, that was really cool too, to end the year with a nice live feed, so that people could watch the championship get crowned. And we had over 175,000 viewers for that race, you said. So hats off to you and James and Warren Evans, for everybody who did the live feed there. And I would say Mocan was my highlight. That was fun. It started out a little rough on Saturdays, but it came around. But I'm glad you weren't in Odessa, because you wouldn't have had fun. Your little camper might have gone flipping, man.
Man, Odessa's got some wild weather stories. It
does.
is just so different out there in West Texas in that area. Nothing but dust and oil. Great little track, but
Great track.
it has had its challenges for sure. And yeah, Mocan was great. Filming the grade 8 shootout, you've got Kirk and Shane round 1 of it, or round 2 of it, however it worked out. And yeah, Kirk goes red, and I'm on my ladder, same spot. It's like deja vu moment, because round 1, because it's a sportsman ladder, they match up again. Kirk goes the same lane. Kirk goes red again and opens up that door for Shane, and Shane steps through it and wins the championship by 1 point. That is everything you can ask for. It's what you hope for.
Yeah.
Those type of moments and drama. And I have nothing against the countdown, certainly the participation trophy aspect in the NHRA, but you don't need a playoff scenario within the world of chaos. It works out most of the time where there are some good tight battles. I think Joey might have actually won by one of the biggest margins in chaos history, honestly, because I think of your championship battles, a lot of them were very close between Ken and whoever. And then the one with Kirk, he won pretty handedly. But then the very next year, Tom comes back, B field, and it was a tight points battle going into that last race of the year. So most of these championship battles are really tight.
Yep. It's fun, man. That's why. I mean, that's why I said earlier. First round's my favorite part of race weekend. I love first round. I want to see 24 cars or 16 cars come up there. No one knows what's going to happen. Line them up. Let them rip. Pro tree drop. First one to the finish line wins. Let's go. I think that's just it's very exciting. The fans seem to enjoy it, and the racers and the crew enjoy it because boy, when they win, man, they get excited on that start line, and that's cool too. I gotta get them out of the way. We gotta get the tow vehicle going. Come on, let's go. So they're having fun and hooting and hollering and throwing stuff in the bleachers and whatever, and that's it's a good time, man. It's a good time.
Certainly is, and I love you mentioned some of the programs, what they are. Joey and his team, they win the championship. They don't have a stacker trailer. It's not a small trailer, but it's just a regular enclosed trailer. It's not a stacker, and they're able to go win a championship. But yet you got Shane Lawson with his stacker and a whole entourage going out there and winning a championship. It's all different shapes and sizes and people coming together, and you got a shot to win. And certainly love that these guys have names on the side of their car. It makes interviewing and top end interviews a lot easier when there's a name on the car and you can work with that and create some cool segues and cool moments. So you certainly have one of the coolest things in drag racing going on right now. And certainly looking forward to some of the announcements that you mentioned we can expect of some races. I knew there was some gaps in there, and I'm looking at them like, something's up. We're not done with announcements. I want to ask this last question. We'll let you go and enjoy the rest of your day. And again, thank you for your time this morning. What is the future of drag racing in light of NMCA, NMRA announcing a ceasing of operations? You've got Wes Buck out there touting the future is pro mod. We see that at the top level of the sport, NHRA Nitro, it's still the big show. What does the future of drag racing overall look like from the perspective of promoter Chris Graves?
Man, that's a toughie. I mean, hopefully, at the end of the day, hopefully the sport in itself continues to thrive. Because like I said, I think regardless of what niche you prefer and regardless of what kind of car you like and regardless of what kind of power plant you like and regardless of what kind of racing you're doing, you're still drag racing. So, get off the street, quit standing on the starting line, getting run over, quit, all the goofy crap that's going on in the sport. We all need to grow up and get real about all that. Some of these tracks need to absolutely get real about their safety procedures and their policies, because I can guarantee you that there ain't a sanctioning body around NHRA, IHRA, WDRA that allows any of that. We all saw the dude getting run over by the Nova last week or wherever the hell that was at, but that happens all the time. I think that's crazy. And one of these days, there are going to be people get killed. It's going to be a bunch of them, not just one guy or girl. It's going to be a pile. And I think that's nuts. So hopefully the future of drag racing, these track owners and these sanctioning bodies get serious about enforcing safety regarding the starting line and restricted areas, because that's my number one pet peeve. I can't stand all that stuff. It drives me nuts. But at the end of the day, as long as everybody's enjoying the sport, there's modern stuff going on. There these transitions, like we talked about earlier, in door slammers from grudge to small tire to no prep, and now it's kind of going back to grudge a little bit. I don't know. I'm not real big into that deal, but there's a lot going on. There's cars being built. The junior dragster program's still thriving all over the place. You go to MoCan, there's 50, 60 juniors. That's awesome. That's what's most important. And so being able to improve the starting line safety situation is just some of these events that these door slammer events and no prep events and grudge races has got to be handled. But being able to the junior program thriving, the grassroots tracks thriving. I mean, there are tracks closing. There's no doubt. There's a lot of different reasons why tracks close. Some of these owners are ex-convicts. Some of these, there's all kinds of crazy reasons why these tracks are closing, but there's also tracks being built. There's a brand new racetrack in San Angelo, Texas, open last week. So, that's great. And keeping the grassroots tracks open and, so, keeping the kids and the juniors and bringing them up at the racetrack and making friends and doing all of that and just enjoying hot rodding. It goes back to enjoying the sport and enjoying the challenges of hot rodding and engine building and painting cars and tuning cars and all of that kind of stuff. As long as we can keep our interest in horsepower and showing that horsepower off in a form of a drag race with 2 cars on a drag strip, we'll be all right. It ain't going nowhere. It might look different, but hey, man, it looks a lot different than it did 10 years ago, much less 20, 30 years ago. But we're all still here, and we're all still having fun, and we'll keep on trucking, man.
Chris Graves, owner, promoter of the Chaos. Chris, thank you for your time.
Yep, thank you. Appreciate it.
Folks, we're going to take a break. Right after the break, we'll dive into drag racing news right here on Between the Slicks. Hit the like button, hit the share button, and dive into the comment section. This word from McKinney Corp.
McKinney Motorsports is your #1 source for all your chassis needs. McKinney Motorsports is the leading chassis parts supplier and fabricator in Nitro drag racing. From custom tanks and fittings, full chassis builds, body mounts, steering components, fasteners, tabs, clamps, composite parts, and much more. Our household name in the racing world guarantees added performance on the track. Join our list of proven winners that spans over 50 years of racing experience.
And in drag racing news, there certainly is plenty of it, and we'll dive into the NMCA, NMRA ceasing of operations. I'll give my opinion on that, but before we do, I want to cover some other information out there for you all. Last night, we talked with the champions of Chaos, Shane Lawson and Joey Haas. Shane Lawson, the Funny Car Chaos champion, Joey Haas, the Nitro Chaos champion. You can catch that episode on YouTube, on the Monday Morning Racer YouTube channel. If you are not subscribed there, you need to be, if you are certainly a drag racing fan, also a motorsports fan. This is a drag racing show, but occasionally the Monday Morning Racer, yours truly, Lee Kraft, will get out to a dirt track or asphalt oval track and cover some more other motorsports. Wish I had time to cover many other motorsports. And on the channel, there's been drifting, autocross, and hopefully more of that to come. There's shop tours that you can entertain yourself with. Hopefully more of that also in the off season to come. Like, yeah, I need to do a shop tour of McKinney Corp. Need to do that soon. But plenty to see on the Monday Morning Racer YouTube channel. Go subscribe there. And we just got done talking with Chris Graves, the owner and promoter of Chaos. And very quickly, let's take a look at the 2025 schedule. The bulk of it is out. Funny Car Chaos right there. It looks wildly different than what it did in 2024. Again, starting off with the biggest funny car race in the world at the Texas Motorplex, the Funny Car Chaos Classic, and Nitro Chaos will be there as well. First time ever event in Oklahoma at Osage Tulsa Raceway Park. Tulsa Nitro Nationals in April after the Texas Motorplex. Then we go up to Eddyville Raceway Park for Chaos in the Cornfield. That is a joint event along with Nitro Chaos. Then Pinwheel Nights Raceway in Odessa as an invitational race. Cordova Dragway, the Summer Nationals, has become a good event. It will be going into its 3rd year, if I remember correctly, of Funny Car Chaos being there. Byron Dragway, that's a new addition to Chaos. Their Summer Thunder, July 25th and 26th. Then Mocan Dragway, the Labor Day Weekend Classic. It will not be the championship race. The championship race will take place at Great Lakes Dragway for the championship finals for Funny Car Chaos. On the Nitro Chaos side, starting off the Texas Motorplex joint race with Funny Car Chaos, the Funny Car Chaos Classic. Then Eddyville Raceway Park, another joint race with Funny Car Chaos, Chaos in the Cornfield. That did not happen this year in 2024 due to weather. It was the right call, and we're certainly looking forward to get back there at Eddyville Raceway Park. I wasn't able to attend Eddyville Raceway Park at all so far this year, and that's certainly sad. Gerald and the team there do a great job. It's such a great facility, such a great area of the United States of America there in Iowa. Then off to Edgewater Sports Park, Thunder in the Park, great facility. 3rd year that Nitro Chaos will go there. That is becoming like a staple place for Nitro Chaos to race. Then Mocan for the 63rd anniversary celebration event, and Mid-State Dragway for the finals. And yeah, I definitely think there's a gap there's a gap from July to October. I know there's some Funny Car Chaos racing in there, but I wonder what Chris might be able to fit in Nitro Chaos wise. We will see. Be on the outlook. Nitro Chaos, Funny Car Chaos for announcements, as he alluded to in the show just a moment ago. In drag racing news, Heartland Motorsports Park, Topeka, has been sold. You can read this information on competitionplus.com. Go to competitionplus.com. You can get more information, and it has been sold, and we know now the buyer. I want you to check out the article on competitionplus.com, but it was bought by a commercial development entity within Topeka, Kansas. So the thoughts are, as of now, that we should not expect racing to maintain at Heartland Motorsports Park. And I use this photo in particular. Losing Topeka is bigger than just losing a drag strip. It was more to the racing community. Tracks are being built. Racing is happening elsewhere. But it's certainly sad that a community could not embrace, and an owner couldn't work out with the community whatever needed to be done to keep racing in such an area. We'll move on to some of the events that are happening this weekend in drag racing, because plenty of drag racing is, in fact, taking place. Galat Motorsports Park, one of the finest 8th mile only facilities that there is in the world. They are hosting the Redline Oil PDRA Drag Racing Series Drag Wars. That is this weekend. So if you are near the Raleigh-Durham area, that's around where Benson, North Carolina is, great drag racing action that you can see this weekend. More Pro Mod action is taking place in another part of the country. That is in East Texas, Pine Valley Raceway there in Lufkin, Texas. Certainly hoping that Austin and the gang there at Pine Valley can have a great race. They desperately need it. The Texas Tango Midwest Drag Racing Series, it is this weekend as they are gearing towards. So is the PDRA Championship final races. These are the penultimate events for the Midwest Drag Racing Series and the Professional Drag Racers Association, the PDRA. Continuing in what is happening this weekend, as we talked to Joey Haas last night, the Night of Fire at Keystone Raceway, that is east of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a great facility, a place that I have been at. Greg there, the ownership, does a tremendous job. And if you want to see some drag racing, some nitro being burned, Joey Haas, the Nitro Chaos champion, along with Bruce Litton and others there in action, the Night of Fire at Keystone Raceway, just east of Pennsylvania. That is another great event. And there is NHRA drag racing this weekend. Rankin students get in free with their ID at Worldwide Technology Raceway this weekend for NHRA divisional regional action, including Tony Stewart in competition again back in the A Fuel ranks of Top Alcohol Dragster. That is happening this weekend. We're not done. A little bit different drag racing, but nonetheless, it's drag racing to the 500-foot mark. Some of you are probably at this point right now, where does 500 feet come into relation to quarter mile and 8th mile? And if I've got to explain that, it frustrates me every time I have to explain to someone, yes, this is 8th mile drag racing, or this is 1,000 foot, or this is quarter mile. A little pet peeve of mine. Nonetheless, the Chi-Town Showdown is happening at Great Lakes Dragway there in Union Grove, Wisconsin. And the snowmobilers are getting after it on a clay track. Love seeing different types of drag racing. The sand drags are cool. Brainerd Motorsports Park. This is not the Brainerd up there in Minnesota. This is the Brainerd Motorsports Park in northern Georgia. You're almost in Tennessee. It's right below Chattanooga and just off the Interstate 75. They have the Southeast Nostalgia Drag Racing, Nostalgia Super Nationals happening. And you can also catch the Nostalgia Pro Stock Boys, and they put on a good show. Very quickly, some news since it's been a while. Having Between the Slicks live, the champion in Funny Car Chaos Championship Series is wrapped up already for the year. Shane Lawson, the Man of War 2 team, they win. And then Joey Haas, Team Ninrod, they are the winners in Nitro Chaos, the champions. getting the job done in the 2 Chaos Series. That, Chris Graves, owner and promoter that we just talked to, keeps pushing forward into the future. Well, speaking of the future, we know the future of the NMRA and the NMCA, the National Mustang Racing Association, the National Muscle Car Association. They do not any longer have a future. It is announced this morning across drag racing media channels and on the Facebook pages of the NMRA and the NMCA that they are ceasing operations. They did encourage racers to participate elsewhere, but they did cite in the press release a myriad of issues that, well, hasten the demise of the 2 sanctioning bodies. First of all, to all those that are part of the NMRA, the NMCA, thank you for all that you've done. It has been a long time since I attended one of those events, but thank you for what you have done in the world of drag racing. I want to echo what Chris stated, and I think drag racing overall is doing exceptionally well. I think this announcement, I don't think we should take it as a doom and gloom moment and that drag racing is going in the tank and it's dying. The people who say that, I think they are just completely ignorant of what is happening in the world of drag racing. It is sad to see a sanctioning body of racing, not necessarily track sanctioning, but for racing, an organization for racing, decide to close their doors. They're not the only one this year. We also had the Northeast Outlaw Pro Mod Association be put up for sale, and it is certainly its nature of where it will be in 2025 and beyond is in limbo. Well, I think what you are seeing when you look at the Northeast Outlaw Pro Mod Association, when you look at the NMRA, the NMCA, what are they? They are door car centric organizations. And frankly, the sport is changing and evolving. You know, you have Wes Buck. He states that, well, the future of drag racing is pro mods. That may very well be true. And pro mod racing may be the best platform for drag racing overall to move forward. I don't fully agree with him because when you put pro mod in a show where there's Nitro, typically Nitro is the show. And I've seen that even outside of the NHRA. A great event at US 131 Motorsports Park for the Northern Nationals when the PDRA was there racing. The show that was there also included Top Fuel and Nostalgia Funny Cars and Fuel Altereds. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? When Nitro was done running, even though there were finals left for some of the baddest pro mod racing in all of the world, a lot of people left the stands. Granted, all that being said, I think what you are seeing with big events such as the Winter Series, big events paying out like the biggest purse ever that happened at Flying H recently at the Midwest Drag Racing Series, the existence and success of the Midwest Drag Racing Series, the PDRA, other places to race, I think it's just affecting places such as the Northeast Outlaw Pro Moto Association, the NMRA, and the NMCA. I think what you're seeing is that there's just not enough pro mod racers to go around. And I think places such as the PDRA, the Midwest Drag Racing Series, and other entities such as, they have just got to work together where more people can show up and run and participate no matter the series. No matter if they're running quarter mile, eighth mile, 1,000 foot, half a mile, to the 60 foot, whatever they want to do. Figure out those rule packages so that an ADRL can also be successful, a PDRA can be successful, a Midwest Drag Racing can be successful, along with NHRA Pro Mod Drag Racing. I think, me personally, looking at this is a door car sanctioning body centric issue, not just an overall drag racing issue. Doesn't mean Pro Mod's drag racing is going to die. No, in so many ways, it's thriving. You've got the winter series coming up that Drag Illustrated is putting on. More money is going into that program, and some of those big races that happen down there at Bradenton at a off-season time for most of these guys and most of other racing, great for door cars. We are just seeing changes, though. I think these series have got to work together. We got to roll the punches, so to speak. But overall, I think drag racing is doing well. You can see that clearly with Funny Car Chaos. You can see that in other parts of drag racing in the no prep scene. And I think it is still moving forward and well. So we've just got to see these entities work together. And, that also, keep in mind, as Chris said, the race at Maryland International Raceway for Funny Car Chaos, it did well, but for himself and Royce, they're like, it didn't do well enough for us to keep this going on. That's a smart decision. And that's a decision that was made for everyone involved, track, series, racers. Does that mean Funny Car Racing on the East Coast is dead? No. It's just going to look different. There might be in the future another Funny Car Chaos event on the East Coast, and it is done elsewhere, and it does exceptionally well. But you look at the West, far West, like that's not Pro Mod country. There's very few teams coming out of the Pacific Coast running Pro Mods. And you just have pockets within the world of drag racing in all of its diversity where certain things are more popular than others, and certain racers get into a track, and that's what they are racing, and that's what they are participating in. I certainly appreciate the people like Lyle Barnett that go in and out of certain series and ranks, and love seeing that. But I think we need to see more racers doing that. I think we need to see more series working together. And hey, we want to have this event here, and that's far enough geographically away from your event, or let's not even stack events on top of each other and try to do that. I think overall, drag racing is so healthy. It has grown so much. It is doing so well that it's expanded, and you're probably going to see it shrink into a comfortable area. I think that's something that's going on with tracks right now. There are so many tracks with so many different events. Like what I just shared with you about what's upcoming this weekend. That's not the only drag racing happening out there. That's just what I selected. That's just what I saw through my social media feeds. There is so much happening across the country. Drag racing is, in fact, alive and well. It is continually evolving. It is continually changing. What we do have to do, and I will say this, is as fans, support racing. As racers, go out and race. And then also as media. I will say, my time as Monday Morning Racer, sadly, I never covered an NMCA, NMRA event. It just never worked out schedule-wise. I always had a chaos race to be at, or it was an NHRA event, or I was at a PDRA event, and never was able to attend as a media person one of those events. And to all the media that may be listening, and I hope you are, I hope that I've got enough respect in the industry at this point. Hear me out. You do not have to cover the NHRA every weekend. You do not have to cover the PDRA every weekend. You do not have to cover something every weekend. In fact, I think it may behoove all of us in media that if you don't have your place already, for example, if you've got your place in the PDRA, if you've got your place in the NHRA, if you've got your place, and that's your wheelhouse, such as my wheelhouse may be chaos, well, find somewhere else beyond that when you've got opportunity. I love going and covering Southeast Gassers Association drag racing. You could say outside of chaos, that's kind of my wheelhouse. But when I get the opportunity, I love to go to an Outlaw Pro Mod drag race and cover it, such as the Southern Outlaw Pro Mod series. Find that other place that doesn't get the looks, the views, the likes, and the shares, and give back to the overall community. Because as media, sometimes I think we get a bit too big-headed, and we think, well, I'm covering the sport, I'm doing something for the sport, when maybe you're just riding the popularity of something instead of actually toiling and working and putting in effort to help something grow. And I think as media and being media, I'm speaking to those individuals. That's something we should be doing. I think about many of the big platforms. Maybe a share from the NMCA, the NMRA, could have helped them. Maybe this year in 2024 it was too late, but hit the share button on the series and help grow their platforms. Hit the share button on the racer and help grow their platforms. And by the way, give them a tag. Give them a invite to collaborate. If you're growing, help them grow. We've all got to help one another for this to continue to move forward. There's plenty of hope for drag racing to stay alive and well. And it's going to be from you out there watching, and it's going to be from the cooperation of media and series, racers, personalities, moving things forward. Let me go to the comment section really quickly. Dugenay, the Not Bland Show types in, that is important. That's surprising that it didn't do well in Maryland. I'm sure you're speaking of Funny Car Chaos. It did well, but again, it wasn't something that was like, oh, this is what we're looking at. But Maryland, they have a couple of big events already in the year, very door car centric, that kind of bookmark their season. And they're just very well-known events. Obviously, we got the World Cup coming up there. That is their event, and it is a world-renowned event. And I think sometimes trying to build other shows in a certain area, it can just be tough. And I think that was the case with Funny Car Chaos. Could it be successful somewhere else? Certainly. And maybe that's a Rockingham. Maybe that's a Galat. Maybe that is a track on the East Coast that I'm not even thinking about. Maybe it's Keystone. Keystone has a great funny car tradition with the Great Lakes Nostalgia circuit. But nonetheless, you just try. They were successful. But again, you've got Chris, you got Royce saying, hey, long term, this may not be the best thing. Let's transition. Let's move. Let's allow the track to do something different, allow the series to do something different, and see what happens. That's smart, instead of trying to just keep pressing and keep pressing and keep pressing. Again, things have got to be given flexibility. I am glad with Funny Car Chaos. I'm a firm believer that series don't have to go to the same tracks every year. And you've got a different flair on the Funny Car Chaos schedule for next year. And PDRA has moved around. And you can always go back, work that out. You don't have to go to the same places. And that is cool to see, I think. If you find your home, it's like, oh, this is a great place. We can kind of settle in here. Awesome. But have successful events, move around. Nothing wrong with that. Andrew says local bracket tracks need to communicate with each other. Also, when three tracks have a big race with 100 miles of each, it doesn't work. One always loses out. I completely agree. I know that George and Casey there with Going Bracket Racing, if you're not subscribed to their YouTube channel, take the time, go on YouTube, Going Bracket Racing, subscribe. They are routinely talking about, well, bracket racing, Going Bracket Racing. They're bracket racers themselves. That is something I agree. Tracks, owners, promoters, operators, they have got to talk with one another. And we have got to stop seeing it as purely competition. You've got to be working with one another for everyone to succeed. Maybe there can even be a bonus program. Hey, we're going to race Thursday, you're going to race Friday, you're going to race Saturday, or move those dates around. And if you attend all three, you get some help or you get something back. I don't know, but work it out. Communicate and talk with one another. That's something that's definitely got to happen, because the issue is not that racing is going down. I think the issue is it's grown and there's so much promotion happening that you can take your door car to a PDRA, to a Midwest Drag Racing Series, to the big winter events, to the NHRA. So if I'm going to do that, why run NMRA or NMCA? You got a lot of that happening. A lot of that is happening right now. Everybody's got to work together. Drag Racing Mayhem. Other series are much more appreciative of media's work. Also, it means so much to a lot of smaller series. It does. At this point, love NHRA drag racing because of the people, the racers, but the fact of the matter is, you show up at a Southeast Gassers Association event, and you're just appreciated more. And when I do go to an NHRA event, I go where, yes, I'm appreciated. And it's the sportsman ranks, it's the alcohol ranks, and the pro ranks. They just get plenty enough airtime as it is. And why bother with it? Have those guys on occasionally, talk to them. And I hope, we've got a great points battle in several of the categories. And we're seeing some tremendous efforts, such as Austin Proc and the Proc family with that John Force racing machine. But they get plenty of airtime. Media, take the time, go to the folks that don't get a lot of airtime, and they'll appreciate it. They will certainly appreciate it. And hey, there's nothing wrong with being appreciated. Nothing wrong. Memphis says Topeka closing is sad. Memphis track just lays there decaying. I have no idea what's going to become of it. Yeah, there are certainly some sad cases, but as Chris mentioned, there's new tracks being built. There's 2 new tracks being built in Florida. There are new facilities being built, and tracks close for different reasons all the time. It's not always an indication on, the health of the sport. Sometimes it was a dumb owner. Sometimes it was a track that frankly needed to close. It does happen. There are a myriad of reasons why tracks close. What's your thoughts on the article about Topeka? Good, bad, or still unknown? I skimmed through the article. We have more information, but it doesn't give us an answer. It doesn't give us the answer that we want. We want to know whether there's going to be racing or not. I think as motorsports fans, in particular drag racing fans, and thinking of it as a drag racing facility, predominantly, I would say even, that we want that answer, but we don't have that yet. I doubt it will remain a racing facility. Could that change? Is there that light of hope? Yes. But I think that light is dimming. But remember, Flying H was built. What will it become in the future? Who else might build something in that area? What track might upgrade to fill in its spot? And also, though there is the loss of that track, how, with losing that track, did other tracks actually benefit from it because maybe that area is not so saturated? Now, that's a deeper dive that I'm not able to answer right now on this show. I'm just thinking there are ripples to a track closing, and in fact, not all of them are negative. Drag Racing Mayhem. I mean, can you blame the racers for running where they could make more money? Exposure. Racing isn't free, and they are just doing what's best for their program. Right. No, you definitely have to think about that. And there's a lot that goes into that. I just think about the NMRA, the NMCA. They would race at some tracks that already had national events. And I think for a lot of series, if you want fans in the stands, try to stay away from the tracks that already have a big event like a national event. Run tracks like Rockingham, which they had in the past. Do not misunderstand me. Run a South Georgia Motorsports Park. Run where you are going to be the show. That's why Southeast Gassers, that's why Funny Car Chaos, and so many times is successful where they go, because they're the big event, or they're the big event for that time of year. So that's something that certainly plays into it. I certainly think, a lot of the people who race in Mountain Motor Pro Stock, I hear this routinely. They're not dissatisfied with the PDRA, but routinely it's, I want to run in front of people in the stands. So we'll go mess around with NHRA because there are fans, there is that engagement, there are people in the stands. Because most of the people running in, Mount Motor Pro Stock, they've got a program that for the large part is self-funded, or it's funded because it's racers funding that particular entity on the side of their car. So some of it is, people just want to run in front of people that are sitting in those stands, and that is important. Drag Racing Mayhem, Flying H doesn't seem like it's getting a NHRA event anytime soon. Well, wrong. It already has had NHRA events, and that's a thinking that I think we've got to have as a shift in even drag racing fandom and in media thinking. You're referring to a NHRA national event. They've already held a NHRA divisional and regional event. And divisional and regional events can be successful for tracks, and sometimes even more successful than a national event because they're not dealing with that headache. They may not want to have a national event anytime soon, and that is dependent on ownership. Look, they probably got more exposure being a young track with having the Midwest Drag Racing Series and having the biggest payout ever for pro mods at a race than what they would have got with a national event when you consider headache, when you consider what it all takes, when you consider, is it actually an advantageous program for every track? And they just might not be in a position as a track where, hey, this makes sense. The tracks have got to do what's smart for them. Is there a time in the future? I think so. Does it have to be right now? No. Is the track unsuccessful because they're not having a national event? No, because they already have had successful events of many different variety, and we'll continue to see that track move forward. And frankly, if they never hold a national event, well, that's okay. Tracks don't have to have a national event to be successful. They can hold a Funny Car Chaos. They can hold a PDRA. They can hold a Midwest Drag Racing Series event. They can hold a one-off event and promote it themselves. Drag racing, as it always has, is evolving and changing. Ladies and gentlemen, this sport looks radically different than what it did at its inception. I mean, you all realize that at one time in drag racing wasn't even sometimes lining up against another person. You all realize at one time, like ET meant nothing. Elapsed time. It was all mile per hour. Now it's kind of different. It continues to change and move forward. And I think overall, as sad as it is, the announcement that the NMRA and the NMCA will cease operations, I think more about the people that they had a role, they had a job, they had income, they had a place to race. I hope that gets secured more quickly, and I'm more considerate about those people than the sport of drag racing overall, because overall, I do believe it is healthy. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching this 176th episode of Between the Slicks. Thank you to Chris Graves for his time, and get out there and support an event this weekend. I've already got an event I'll be at this weekend that's not drag racing related. I'm going to enjoy a college football game with the girlfriend. She is an Alabama fan. They're playing at Vanderbilt. I am not an Alabama fan. Anchors down. Go Vandy is all I'm saying at this point. To each and every one of you, thank you. Subscribe to the Monday Morning Racer. I'm Lee Kraft. God bless, and keep the pedal to the metal. If you own a beautiful modern muscle car like this 1320 Challenger, I'm sure you don't want it stolen. Because the Challenger and many other modern vehicles have an easily accessible neutral release strap. That was your coin holder in your central console, and beneath that there's this red cord that someone can pop, put it in the neutral, and potentially easily steal your car. But at Destroyer1320.com, they have the TDS, Theft Deterrent System, which is a cover over that strap using factory mounting points so that you don't get popped by a thief. So make sure to go to destroyer1320.com using promo code MMR for 15% off and get your theft deterrent system TDS and steal the thieves' hope.